Hi everyone, David Alzafon here, author of Measure for Measure, the songwriting how-to column in American Songwriter magazine. And I'm just looking through the scores in the one and only textbook we have for the column. This is Paperback Songs, The Beatles, a pocket reference guide to more than 100 songs. It's nothing but scores and lyrics. And ideal for the column because I can refer you to a certain song, a certain measure, without having to waste column space by actually publishing the score and also facing difficulties with licensing. So this book is published by Hal Leonard, and it's been out for many years, so you can almost undoubtedly find one in a used bookstore for just a couple bucks. And I highly recommend it if you're reading the column. Now, appropriately enough, I'm looking at the score to Good Day Sunshine because we're in the middle of a heat wave here in Southern California. I think the temperature outside is about 108. And it reminds me not only of the song Good Day Sunshine, but a story. A story told to me by Howard Roberts, the famous jazz guitarist who founded GIT in the late 70s, and GIT has now become Musicians Institute in Los Angeles. Howard was a genius on guitar. His albums are still highly recommended, very listenable, but I wanted to tell you a story that he told me while we were working on the column one day. Howard used to live in Phoenix, and it gets hot in Phoenix too, and he would take walks around the desert with no instrument, no guitar, just walking through the desert among the cacti, thinking of music and trying to transcribe it on an imaginary guitar. And he would go home and then check to see if he had picked the right notes. And this led to phenomenal accuracy on the guitar, because when Howard played a note, it didn't start with a guess. It started with positive knowledge of that sound and that location on his guitar in his imagination, which was built up on those walks in the desert. Now, the dialogue games are about the same thing that Howard was working on. The question is, how well do you hear in total silence? And by the end of this course, you should answer that question well enough to be able to compose songs, lyrics and words in your imagination without touching an instrument. That's an ability we all have. We think of the things we say before we say them. And we can get hooked on a tune that's playing in our mind over and over again on a looping track. Well, we can also make up music, planting notes wherever we want them to be. If we have those two abilities, the ability to think into the future and then say something, and the ability to think of a tune in our minds, we can get more sophisticated about that. Now, this starts with the study of rhythm, because rhythm is the lowest common denominator in music. You can have music without harmony, you can have music without melody, but you can't have music without rhythm. So that's where we start. Now, the rhythm exercises consist of rhythms that I will play for you, and I'm going to use this guitar with a very low-tech sound. That is, if you find the sound not loud enough or scratchy or thumpy, good, because that's the way the course is supposed to work. If you don't like what you're hearing, then you should be making up the difference with your imagination. If I had a high-tech studio and I had my guitar feeding you a rich, electronically enhanced sound, I would be defeating the purpose of these dialogue drills. The dialogue drills are supposed to be low density information, and you're supposed to make up the difference so that you hear something better than what I'm playing in your mind. And this item is a metronome. One thing we're going to be doing is playing different tempi. We'll be playing slow. We'll play some rhythms slowly, something like this. That's 60 beats per minute. And some at a medium tempo, say 97 up to 104 or so. And some at a fast tempo. This is 132. We won't be playing any 16th notes. The fastest we'll get is the 8th note, which comes in between the beats. So everybody should be able to perform these. If you don't know how to play guitar or piano, then just clap your hands. It really doesn't matter if you know how to play an instrument at all. So nobody's left out. Everybody can play along with the dialogue games. Okay, so how did the dialogue games go? Once again, I think I've said this before, but just to remind you, I'm going to play a rhythm. Say I have my guitar, and I play a rhythm such as this. The rhythm will be done with a chord on the guitar, so you know it's the rhythm and not just placeholder scratchy sounds. This is the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. New rhythm. Okay, and they're all going to be like that. I'm not going to tell you which game to play. That's up to you. So I think that about covers the format of the dialogue games, and everybody give them a chance before you decide that they're too easy or you're not getting anything out of them, because I think you'll find that when you're listening to music and you're trying to make up music, having a precise rhythmic sense is going to build a much stronger scaffolding for your words and music. But you have to give it a little time to acquire that ability. It doesn't come immediately. In fact, I would continue the rhythm-based dialogue games all the way through the course, a few minutes a day. And you will see a long-term improvement throughout the course. Remember to keep playing the game a little longer than you think is necessary, because after about 10 minutes, you'll find yourself getting into the zone where your conscious mind steps back and lets your subconscious take over, and you'll find yourself spontaneously connecting to deep levels of imagination without any effort whatsoever. This is what we're seeking, and we want to carry that feeling forward as we add harmony and melody to the mix. So let's get started on dialogue game group number 1.